She Said, He Said is sponsored by Times Media Company and Lee Enterprises. Our show is recorded each week at Creative Space Place Studios in Hobart, Indiana.
You're listening to She Said, He Said with Karen and Jerry Davidge, a potpourri of everything that has to do with relationships and the baggage that comes with it, because there's a lot to unpack.
For couples, getting into a fight or an argument is way too easy.
The trick is getting out of one and somehow reconnecting in a positive way.
Good luck.
We revisit two married couples, Matt and Carrie Ann Valukas and Troy and Carrie Williams.
I would say in 18 years, we've probably had 3 blow-up fights with
tears and slam doors and that.
And
that's the
driving
worst.
away, and 3 maybe. And it's funny now because even if we tiff and we have a little bit of a raised voices, our 7-year-old's like, "Stop fighting!" And we're like, "Oh God, we're not fighting. This isn't."
Yeah, this isn't fighting, kid.
Yeah,
but he's so
there's
funny.
nothing.
He walks up and he's like, "Mom, you love Dad, and Dad, you love Mom. You guys knock it off." And I'm like, "All right,
Yeah, you're
Greg,
right.
You're right. You know, but to your point, one of the I asked you about advice, and there were 2 pieces of advice that I was given. One of them
From our
was
counselor.
one from our counselor was, "Do you want?"
Also married us, by the way, which was
Oh,
just
I like
amazing.
Yeah,
that.
which is
He
amazing
was
because he knew us
fantastic.
so well
Yeah.
from
And
things, and he
a
was
better
ordained. And like
person.
he knows us, and it was
Yeah.
wonderful. We're not religious people by nature.
We got married in a theater.
Yeah,
Of course.
So
Full theater.
Yeah.
With a lighting designer and everything.
Oh, I
and
bet
it was
that was
really
really
wonderful.
precious.
It was really fun. But he had said to me, because I was talking about these tumultuous relationships that I had been in and how they weren't working, and they always like, "Yeah, but when she did this, I you know, it's not bad. I mean, it's fine." And he looks at me, he's like, "Do you want someone that you can live with, or do you want someone that you can't live without?" And that piece of advice has really stuck with me, is that you don't want someone you can live with in a relationship. You want someone you can't live without. To be able to put up with certain things, to say, "It's fine. I can deal with that." That's one
not the
thing,
right person.
but it's not. And I realize that I'm very fortunate with Carrie Ann, because not everybody has the relationship that we do that can speak as openly as we can to each other. But one of the other pieces of advice that I got from Dr. Phil, of all people, and I'm not a
all have
Dr.
that
Phil.
advice
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not a Dr. Phil
Everybody
fan.
can hit the
With the
target
drawl.
once.
Yes.
Yes, that's
but,
right.
But Dr. Phil had said, "Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right?" So when it comes to fighting, do you want to be happy? Do you want, because you can keep fighting and fighting and fighting
You
to
sure
prove your
can.
point until you're right. Or can you make your point, see the other person's point, meet in the middle and be happy about it?
Yeah.
And I've got another friend of mine who I relay that to, and she's a little bit more crass than I. And she and her
you?
husband, yeah, believe it or not. But she and her husband were both very headstrong people, and they decided early on, like, you can choose between one of 2 Fs. You're going to spend your time doing what you, as a couple. Do you want to spend it fighting, or do you want to spend it
Yeah.
The other half.
the other F?
The other half.
You know, and that was them. Like, do we want to fight about this, or do we want to put it behind us and get to the makeup portion of it?
Let's segue that into how you guys maybe rectify, because Carrie, you're obviously looking at Troy going, it was difficult. Well, then how did you guys navigate through that difficult time? That's part of the segment we were talking about. We're going to talk about anyway, of how couples reconnect. How do you make that work without going to bed mad, not talking to each other for days? I mean,
Yeah.
how do
There
you
was
guys
a lot. Well, there was a lot of that. I mean,
see?
so I mean,
Is that part of the process then? Unless you're
Well,
some idealistic, wonderful couple that never
yeah. I
argues.
mean, and again, and dating is everyone goes home to their separate corners, and you only
Yeah.
see the best side of each other. Yeah, I mean, you're only getting you know, the date, you know, the on time when everything's great and magical. I mean, living together is real, and it's
Yes.
really difficult. And so, you know, like, wow, I didn't realize you were going to leave your socks there. Huh. You know, I mean, so there's
Troy,
that kind
Does
of
this shirt
idea.
smell?
like that.
There's that kind of idea, and then like, so you're gonna let the kids do that, huh? Right here, and you're gonna let that happen? I mean, so there's
Yeah.
wake up ideas, and so, you know, I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of angry nights, and I was trying to be a big proponent of not yelling in front of the kids.
Sure.
I mean, because I'm like, don't want to be that family or
No,
that,
right.
you know, parents, and like, I don't want everyone to have to hide in the room. Like, no,
We
you
had
know.
that. I had that.
So yeah, I don't want to be that person. So there was a lot of closed door conversations.
Was there
and
cold tension that the kids could pick up on anyway, and that kind of gets in the way of what your plan
Have
was?
to ask the kids.
Hello.
Maddie.
Phone right now.
right.
In the beginning, they were younger, so maybe not. Maybe they wouldn't have picked up on it as
See.
much.
Kids are sponges.
They
though.
are,
They don't
yeah.
miss a trick.
I would say that probably did pick up on it, you know.
see, yeah.
And there were a lot of times when I was irritated. So I'm like, I don't think I want to sit in the living room, watch TV with you. I'm going to go to my room. You know, so there's, you know, like, I'm just going to remove myself from the situation. I don't have to, you know, yell. I'm not going to do this. I'm just not going to do anything.
In private.
I said good day. I said good day, sir. Good day, sir, to you.
So there was a lot because I wouldn't say a conflict avoider, but like I don't want to be a yeller, you know.
Right.
So there was probably a lot of removing myself, but there was a lot of quiet conversations. I don't understand when you do,
Oh,
you know.
right.
So there was a lot
Loud whisper kind of thing.
and
Yeah.
probably the finger going,
Right.
you know, the head was bobbing. So I'm sure it's, you know, it's not. No one likes to be lectured all the time, but
Right.
you know.
He
I
had
guess-
to know. You had to tell him at some point.
Well, yeah, or I could not say anything and resent
Or,
him.
yeah,
you
that's-
know?
That's the worst.
Yeah, I'm like, sure, I could not say anything and swallow it down and then just be like, I'm done with
Yeah.
this.
No, and I told her
Yeah.
I'd always rather know if you were upset. You know,
Yeah.
even if I don't pick on me, tell me.
It's like The Godfather. Tell me the bad news first. We'll kiss later. When you guys have a conflict, how do you get through that? Is it an apology? Does somebody always act first?
Yeah, who apologizes?
Because couples usually have a certain leverage,
Yes.
habit, tendencies we get into, and so one person will do the same thing again and again. So how do you guys rectify a conflict when you, even in the past or currently?
Yeah, I mean, we
You have no conflict.
we don't say we don't have a ton of conflicts. I mean, maybe again back when the kids were younger and we had those issues, but
Right.
not as much now. So if something happens, I've probably done something stupid. So
Is that the default now? Troy.
So, I
With
mean,
that look from Carrie too.
I don't mind apologizing, and you know,
I see.
so and again, if I felt super strongly about something, and you know, I would tell her about it. But again, is it whatever the issue is it worth being mad for the next 6 months, next 6 years?
Yeah, I know.
Or is it something that, listen, you said your piece, she said her piece.
Right.
You know,
Can we get through this?
Yeah, I apologize and move on.
Become
And-
one again.
yeah, I mean,
right.
life's too short. We've got too much invested.
Yeah.
And you care about the other person.
That must help you guys are older because in my youth I didn't
She's
have
almost
that
50.
mentality. Sorry, I did not know
But
that.
I'm not. And yet I'm not. Jerk.
Well, because we met
You can
older.
apologize for that,
I was
mister.
gonna say.
I'm sorry.
We met when we were older, and I think it pays dividends for us in many ways. That's my point. No, I don't like being. I'm 60. Okay, Karen's 52. So no, we don't like to being at age at times. To be honest, we just don't. It's just a human thing. Like I wish I was 10 years younger. But then with that comes all the mistakes I've made.
Sure.
And so many, for me especially, relationship mistakes. I have a litany of mistakes that I learned from. So Karen is. I'm hopefully she's getting the best version of me. She
Oh, I
wouldn't-
think so.
I wouldn't want her like being with me or dating me like 20 years ago. She wouldn't stick with me.
Right.
And I think maybe, vice versa, depending on
I
things.
agree with that. The same thing. You know, Troy and I dated, you know, when we were in our young 20s.
Initially. Then you went your
right.
own ways,
yes,
right?
because I didn't think he was a very good boyfriend, you know. So
Good cop, bad boyfriend.
right.
A new book by Troy Williams.
Yeah. So I mean, we did. I'm like,
Good idea.
That's good.
I liked him, but I'm like, oh, I can't live like this, or you know, even date like this.
Right.
So we went our separate ways.
How
and
long did you go your separate ways, roughly? Like, how long were you apart?
got married and and had children? So I was married for 10 years.
Oh, that's
and
a big chunk of life
yeah.
to live without Troy Williams.
and yet somehow I managed.
Wasn't easy for her though.
So, I
she
mean,
struggled
yeah,
10
I mean,
years.
So, you know, I'm like, so meeting in our 20s, I might have wanted it, but he has evolved. So
And he had to do that.
Yeah, and he was a little, not so much now. He was a little full of himself. He was totally cocky. I mean, that's some attract. You know, you're attracted to some of that. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
That machismo was what attracted you though.
Yeah,
Partly
you know,
it did.
he was confident. He was
Yeah.
sure of himself. He,
Damn
you know,
right.
Damn
Yeah.
right.
So I mean that was attractive, but then the following through on the, you know, can we talk about something other than yourself? You know,
I gotta
or
go.
what is- right, or what is?
I got a
so-
case to work on,
Oh
honey.
my God.
I mean, it's got to be about me at some point, you know, and it wasn't. I felt so, you know. So, and then even when we got back together, there was, like I said, we had our children. There was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. You know, there was a lot of like, yeah, date you is different than living with you, and I don't, you know, I had serious doubts in the, you know, in the very
Even when you were kind of living together?
when we were married.
When we were married.
So I mean,
love
that first year was really, really difficult for me. I'm like, wow, this is not, this is who I thought he was. But because he's such a conflict avoider, he would tell me whatever I wanted to hear. So yes, apologize immediately. Yeah, I'm so sorry I did that. Yes, you're totally right. And then do it again and again. And, I'm pulling my hair out thinking like, you can't say you're sorry and then keep doing it, It
doesn't mean you're really sorry.
Right. But he didn't want to fight. So he would just say, yep, you're right. I'm sorry.
see.
So early on, that dance was admit fault, say you're sorry, so she'll quit yelling at you.
Right.
And then I would shut up.
That seems smart in theory, though, Troy.
In theory.
It worked for a while.
He could tell you it did not work.
Not the end game.
So, I mean, over time, like, why are we even talking? I thought we were talking to try to come to some resolution, but if you're going to just shut me down by apologizing
Right.
and never fix what the core problem is, I don't want to keep having the same fight. I'm like, I'm tired of being disappointed, and that probably killed him a little bit. He did not want to be that person who disappointed me, and I'm like, because I kind of had this on this pedestal of what this great guy he is, and everyone loves Troy Williams.
Who doesn't love Troy Williams?
Yeah.
That's our mantra.
Really?
Right. And so it's like, well, it's a farce, it's this sham. He'll just tell you whatever you want to hear. So it was really difficult, just to kind of get through, like, we can't keep going like this. We're going to have to make real progress and real decisions.
That's tough.
And yeah, I mean,
That's
and
tough.
he has evolved. I
Yeah.
mean, so he's different than he was even when we first got married, and definitely 20 plus years ago. I mean, so he's not the same person. I think he's a little more thoughtful, and
Sure.
way more thoughtful.
I was going to say, I think very thoughtful.
So way more thoughtful and considerate, and takes what I have to say in consideration. And there's a joke between us about, like, I should probably listen to my wife. She's usually right. I'm like, usually right.
I'm gonna have that if she goes before me engraved on her tombstone.
There you go. I should have listened to my wife.
Yeah.
Now we travel in the Wayback Machine with Martin Alexi, a brand strategist who asks the question, is 60 the new 40?
Must be like something.
Tough room.
Oh, wow.
Tough room opening. Coming out hot.
Oh, yes.
Coming in
yes.
I'm
So-
late 70s. You guys are late 80s.
So that kind of brings us to what our theme
boy.
is today, is we're
I
talking
guess it
about
does, yeah.
generational observation. So both Martin and I would be considered Generation X. You are,
right on the cusp of being a baby boomer.
you're a young boomer.
Yeah, because I was born in 62, and some things say 58 or
65.
65.
Yeah,
or
something like that.
something. I'm not sure where the
to begin
cutoff
the
is.
Gen X,
So I never really thought about it until I got to be like my age currently, which is 60.
60.
I'm 60. I can kick. I can hit. No,
I can stretch.
I can stretch. But that's going to my head now being this whole boomer thing. And then I'm hearing myself say some things once in a while, and I think to myself, are younger generations saying those certain things as well? And I don't know if they do. We had a couple of words that we thought of even on the way here, like Davenport. I don't say Davenport, but people say this. Icebox. Like her dad used to say icebox all the time.
Instead of refrigerator.
And some people still say icebox. So
My grandparents always used to say
Exactly.
icebox, and I didn't understand that reference, except for in context. You're like, okay, it's cold, I get it. Till I saw the Three Stooges skit where they had to bring that big ice block all the way up
oh
to
my
the top
God, I
of the
remember
mountain.
that. Right.
And I'm like, that's what an icebox is. Okay.
Put ice in a box to keep things cold.
Right.
Yeah. So it's these kind of observations, and it's all generational based. And then we just find it fascinating how people are different. I mean, one of the things we were talking about earlier is that social media, for instance, like her son Bobby, who's 23, he said only geezers use Facebook. He said that, like, quote unquote, he wasn't even saying it disparagingly. He just said old people use Facebook. Where he's on Facebook, but he doesn't like use it a lot.
No.
It's for older generations, and then younger, of course, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, etc., that kind of thing.
But
It's true. It is true.
It is true.
But if you get on TikTok,
Yeah.
that can make up for that gap a little bit, and then you'll see what happens. But good luck going on TikTok and not falling down a rabbit hole.
Oh my God.
I was
yes.
on it, and I thought, well, I'm not going to be on this. And then you watch it, and you're like, oh, okay, that's funny. Okay, that's interesting. And should I follow that person? No, I'm not ready to commit like that yet. Okay, and then you just keep scrolling and scrolling, and then that video pops up where they say, wait a minute, you've been scrolling way too long. And you're like, next.
Oh
and
my
then
God. Really?
It's like finding out you have a problem.
Do you have a problem, Martin?
Maybe. I did.
You did.
For a while.
Well, you stopped.
When I went to bed, I would watch and I would be like, oh, okay, that was funny or that was interesting. And before you know it, that video pops up and it's an hour later, 2 hours later. You're like, okay, I have a problem. So I'll put the phone down.
We call that Karening. She's Karening because Karen does that. I think she has a lot of rabbit holes on different...
Instagram is a huge
Instagram
rabbit hole
especially,
for me.
yeah.
Yes. Because I'm not on TikTok, but Instagram has Reels, which to me is the same as TikTok. But we're digressing for a minute.
Sorry.
So I wanted to ask you, Martin, because we're about the same age. So Jerry we've established she's 60. That looks fabulous, by the way, for 60. Absolutely.
She's
When I
married
grow up
today.
and be like Jerry, yeah.
Yeah.
If I could look a third of good, is that.
Remember when
So-
60 sounded dead? When you were younger? 60,
Well, that's the
you were
thing.
right this close to being dead.
So let me ask you, because you and I'm 52, and you're what, 51?
I have yet to reach. No, yes, I'm 52.
I was gonna say.
And it's hard to admit that.
Is
It
it?
is. It's very hard
Is
to
it?
admit that.
Not
Even for
in
a guy?
an egocentric way, more of a, are you kidding? Mm-hmm. No, I'm 42. The math has to be off on
Yeah.
this. Why do I not feel like you, to your point or your point, wait a minute, 52 I'm supposed to be this or less energy or less enthusiasm in life. And I'm like, no, things are kind of reversing. If anything, it's getting better.
I think with us, and I'm part of a lot of Generation X Facebook pages. I don't know if you are, but it always like, these were the toys we played with. These were the clothes we wore. These are the shows we watched.
I hate doing that.
And one of them is that when we were kids, I think, and you look back on actors that were in their 50s and they looked old. Like, perfect example is Wilford Brimley,
Oh my
the
God.
diabetes guy.
Wilford Brimley.
He was our age when he did Cocoon.
Yes.
Really?
I only know that because people our age have gone, dude, he's our age when
Yes.
he did Cocoon. And I'm like, well, we're better off and you don't have the beatus. So
No one wants to beat
I
us.
mean,
Nobody
if you wanna-
wants to beat us, but it's true. I think for the most part, we, as a generation, we take care of ourselves. I think we look better because we take care of ourselves. There's more education out there for nutrition and diet and things like that. And I just think as a whole,
Maybe. I mean, yeah, but I'm also thinking we're a youth-obsessed culture, much more than we ever have been.
Very
and much
true.
more, even to this day, even tomorrow's even more than it was today.
Mm-hmm.
And the TikTok culture kind of breeds that as well. And I think because of that, we're just obsessed with youthfulness. And the backlash of that is that so many people feel bad because they can't keep attaining that. And I mean, I feel that too. I mean, I just tried hurdling a couple of cars last week and I made a joke about it, I'll tell you about it later. But my point is you get older and you start looking back and you think, wait, you can't do what you used to do. And then I
Yeah.
think there's a backlash to that. And then that youthfulness plays into it. Like how many, you can see a young guy walk past or a young woman and you go, damn that person. You know what I mean? You just get, I used to be young, but not anymore.
Paul Rudd is our age. And he
Yeah.
just won Sexiest Man Alive.
What?
that?
I had no idea.
Of course, I think Sean Connery won it too when he was 84.
I never thought he was. I mean,
For the record, I'd vote for Paul, not for Sean.
me too.
Okay.
I mean,
Just saying.
Sean Connery had his day in Dr. No. I get that he was the first James Bond, but I heard so many stories that he was a jerk. So
Oh, yeah.
it makes him ugly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Does that play a role with us when we judge artists? That we
Me, yeah.
judge the art, not the artist? Didn't Dylan say that?
I'm very pro judge the art, not the artist. I'm a little sensitive to that only because I just hate. You don't want to see anybody's good work get ignored because of something they did or something. But it's understandable if it hits you.
Cancel culture.
If
Cancel
it
culture.
Right.
affects you personally, where maybe Karen is thinking, you know what, there's something that they did that reminds me of something that happened to me, then I can see, where that makes sense. But otherwise, it's so hard because think of all the great ideas we would have lost had we held Einstein to, his extramarital affair business.
Really?
Business?
Allegedly.
He had a business, like a cottage industry business? Albert the Gigolo?
I don't know.
Never heard that. Is that a movie?
Einstein. I think it was Einstein escorts.
Yes, exactly. Martin's all about branding. He just branded Einstein right here for everybody.
That's what the
she
E
said,
and
he said.
E equals MC squared stands for. That he should have trademarked that. I'm sorry, Karen. You were discussing
We
what it's
tangent a
like
lot.
being a Generation X person,
Well,
and
Let me ask you this. Okay, so since you're on social media, have you seen like Madonna's Instagram? I know I'm not asking if you follow Madonna. I happen to follow Madonna. I don't know why. I've always been
It's
a closet.
Madonna.
I've always been a closet fan of hers.
Okay.
But you've seen pictures of her. You've seen her like the woman is 64 years old, and she posts these Instagram shorts or
Reels?
stories,
Whatever, yeah.
and as if she's still like 27 years old and hanging out at nightclubs in the gritty parts of New York City and filters her face like there's
oh no,
no.
But she's
Really?
Madonna. Can't you do this
But
if you're
that's the
Madonna?
thing. I mean, whenever I read the comments, you get either people saying, "Well, she's still rocking it. She still got it. She's still the it girl, and she's still, reinventing herself." And others like, "Sweetie, you are 64 years old. You have kids.
So the question
you look
should
ridiculous."
be: the question should be if other 64-year-old women or anybody over a certain age does this, because she's Madonna, so we grade differently.
But then it
She could
looks
get away
like
with
whatever
anything.
happened to Baby Jane, which is another Generation X or Boomer thing. But
Oh, that's true.
You're just still holding on to that youth because she was it for years, and then it's now like,
So when do we stop holding on to our youth?
Yeah,
then?
when
That's
do
the
you-
question. When do we just age gracefully, naturally, and it's
Exactly.
okay, and I'm okay, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, what do you think?
maybe when you find the right person,
Oh wow!
the two of you would be a great.
Genius by Martin. Nice. I guess that it would be a factor, wouldn't it? You're right. Yeah.
And someone that lets you feel comfortable with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Madonna hasn't found that. And, I can't.
How could she not have found that?
Right. But
Well, she has a couple failed marriages,
So do I. I don't know why she talks like that.
But you're not like an icon.
Like Edward
I mean,
G.
you
Robinson.
are in my eyes.
Edward G.
but-
Robinson.
but
is
you
that?
guys are an iconic couple.
Oh,
so
well,
when
he's
you
just
have.
too kind.
She just revealed her generational difference by saying that. Like,
Yeah, see?
yeah,
Who's your
see?
Moses now?
Edward G. Robinson, fine.
Can I throw this out to be edited out? I just saw
That's our show.
Soylent Green.
Oh my God! You mean you just saw for the
It's
first
people.
time? Wait, for the first time?
Spoiler
My
alert.
God, Karen! What if our viewers had not seen Soylent Green yet?
I'm sorry.
Kids, kids, if you're going to see Soylent
sorry.
Green, don't watch it anymore.
It's
Good
people.
God, it's people. Soylent Green is people food.
I never saw it either.
It's crackers.
Well, that's the thing is
Not
it's
cracker,
the
crackers.
biggest spoiler alert film of all time.
Yeah.
And because I already knew it going into it, I'm like, everybody knows that quote. They use it and they haven't seen the film.
Yeah, that's true.
Edward G. Robinson is in that film.
Yeah, that's right. He dies in the hospice situation. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Another spoiler alert. Okay, Soylent
Hey, do you
Green is
remember
people
the
food.
glad I
crying
saw it
game?
when I
That was
did.
a big spoiler.
And Edward
50
G.
years
dies.
later.
Now we all know their secrets out.
It's a hard scene, but it was.
It's a great scene.
Anyway, it's
Yes.
okay. There's something generational. We grew up with that.
Okay.
We grew up with that
Loved
phrase
it.
in our head. I never saw the film, but when I saw it, I was looking at it through. You look at it through. Okay, it came out in '72
What,
or
through
something like
older
that.
eyes, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I think if you can look through in a generational, if you have that perspective,
Yeah.
like a Ken Burns perspective,
Right,
where you can watch
right.
anything that they produce and you're suddenly there and you're getting the perspective of that generation, then I think you learn. And as one quick little point about generational differences, do you think there really are generational differences, no matter what culture? Or is it always going to be, oh, these kids they don't
so.
know.
I do.
It'll be both. It'll be that. I think Socrates, and I hate to say somebody who uses the word Socrates, but somebody said, it was either Socrates or Aristotle, says, the kids today are hellions and horrible. And that was a famous kind of quote that got popularized by one of these philosophers. And it was so true, because every generation throws a hero up the pop charts and blames the kids for something.
And now for a lovely waste of time.
Let's talk about weddings.
Okay. So, you and I got married.
Oh, no, not our wedding.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we got married.
All right.
too.
Well, one of the things that has stuck with a lot of your readers is
Yeah.
back in 2011, we crashed a wedding.
Oh, yeah.
We were at the
right.
Avalon Manor for a fundraiser that was on one side of the building.
Yeah, right.
And as we were leaving, we noticed there was a wedding going on the other side of the
And by
building.
we, she means her.
Yeah. And
Wasn't me. I didn't
this was
notice it.
part
I wanted to
of the
bail.
wedding where all the, it's a reception, everyone's
Oh, yeah.
drinking, they're done eating, they're just dancing.
Everything starts off so serious and somber and formal with weddings, and then it slowly unravels into like people taking
Yeah.
their shoes off.
Oh, my
You're
God.
dancing, you're drinking, you're laughing, music is loud.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
That was the point.
Yeah.
So, and we were already dressed up
yeah,
from
right.
the fundraiser we were
Right.
attending. And I said, Jerry, let's just go in there.
And I
you
said,
said,
no.
we're not invited.
Yeah.
I said,
did I say it in a southern accent like
you
that?
did.
I did.
And I said, we
I
should
don't
go
recall
in.
doing that.
I said, we'll just make a lap. No one will know. No one's ever going to know. So we went in there. And it
But
was-
wait, I have a problem with me and my job. I mean, I can't. Nobody ever knows. I can't roll the dice with that.
Okay, you're right.
Okay, continue. Sorry. So we
Because the
went
story
in.
gets good.
Oh,
so
okay.
we go there and it's fun and it's rocking and it's rolling
Yeah.
and they have the DJ.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, let's dance. So we did one slow dance. Okay.
Around
And-
strangers.
yeah.
At a stranger's wedding.
And the best part was there was a photo booth. So
Oh,
we
that's
took
right.
our photos in there. And so
That was the mistake.
the fun thing was they had these little chalkboards. And so at first, the first photo is just me holding it up over Jerry's face because he didn't want to be seen.
No.
Didn't want to be seen.
Busted.
But the last three photos, it's him.
Oh,
He's like,
boy.
take it down. So we're like, hi. And so we take our little strip of photos. And you did see somebody you knew.
Yeah.
But it was just like, oh, your secret's safe with me.
Yeah, I said, don't tell anybody
Yeah.
I was here, right?
So we left. No harm, no foul.
right.
So think of a week or two later, you wrote a column on the fun of crashing weddings. And who happened to be a reader of that column?
Who was it?
It was
the
the
father?
groom's father.
The groom's father.
That happened to be a fan of your columns. So he writes to Jerry, like, mystery solved, because not only did we get a little strip of our photos, a copy was made and put into a nice, lovely album for the bride and groom to
And we had
peruse.
no idea that
Had
there was
no
a
idea.
double copy.
So all of a sudden, they're like, who are these people?
Yes. Nobody could recognize
No one
who
recogni-
invited these people
who
to
are
our
these
wedding.
dum-dums at our wedding?
Yeah.
So mystery was solved. And they had this huge. The family thought it was a fun. They thought you should have stayed.
we
would
were
have
so scared.
fed. We would have given you drink. You should have stayed.
Yeah.
They had a big charge out of it. I think they framed your column. So all's well that ends well. But now I think I'm Facebook friends
We
with
are.
the groom or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was fun, and we really did it. And
So
we
ever since then, we love crashing, kind of crashing,
Kind
or
of.
popping into weddings.
Yes,
We've
popping
done
into
that.
events.
Yeah.
Yes, we did it. We did it one other time on the Spirit of Chicago, which is a dinner cruise thing. But that was a really, really small
Right.
reception, so we just walked
Kinda
right
peeked,
out.
yeah, right.
Yeah, we would have been
It's
noticed.
just a
right
fun
away.
vibe to be in. And
It
we don't
is.
mean no need disrespect.
No,
we don't
we're
drink
not,
your we don't drink your wine.
No, we're
we
not
don't
going to
eat
eat your food. Nothing like that. We did one dance. We took a couple of photos. That was fun, and then we left. But then the jig was up. But another time.
The jig was up. Another great saying from the past.
Another time, it was on my birthday. We went to the lighthouse in Cedar Lake.
Yeah, nice restaurant.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Not off the eaten path. It's on the path.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not off it.
And we were outside taking photos because
That's
Sarah was
right.
with us.
That's
and then you
right.
noticed
I
something
did.
was going on.
I noticed a guy setting up and whispering with another guy talking, and they were setting up for a woman to come there. He was going to propose to her. And I got that impression while they were talking and pointing out logistics and all that. So, of course, the nosy writer in me kind of followed around a little bit, not close, just kind of keeping an eye on what they're doing. And sure enough, the woman got dropped off in the parking lot. She walked out to the pier. She saw some notes. It was like some kind of a scavenger hunt thing. And then he was there waiting for her, and he proposed to her right there on the spot at Lighthouse with the beautiful lake in the backdrop.
Yes.
It was a beautiful moment.
It was.
And I just kind of captured what I saw. I took some notes, and I even got a photo, and then I ended up writing about it.
Yeah.
And that turned out well, too.
Because we got invited to the wedding.
Yeah. So that was another sweet
And
moment.
your column was right there on display.
Oh, at the wedding? I forgot
the
about
reception,
that.
yeah.
At the reception, yeah.
That was fun. On most of our shows, we ask guests the same simple questions to break the ice. What is your favorite word?
Kind.
Oh, I like that.
That word came up several times in our conversation so
Yeah?
far with
Yes.
you.
Really?
Walking into that Gary neighborhood.
Yeah.
How you respond, how you treated me, how you treat people
feel.
in general.
Yeah,
It opens a lot of doors, doesn't it?
it does.
Yet there's not a lot of kindness out there at times. Why is that?
I think people are just so into whatever's going on in their own worlds that they're not realize that other people's worlds are shattered also, and you have to come at it like that. And I always like when people say you don't know what other people are going through, because it's true. Because I may not know you're going through something or had a bad day and you're just in a bad mood, and I'm like, oh, she's just mean.
Karen gets that a lot. People think she's mean all the time.
I do. No. At work they do, because I work at a dental office and nobody ever wants to come into a dental office.
I would scowl at you every time I would walk in that office. So no, yes, I can see that.
She gets a lot of that negative feedback.
I can see that, Jerry. Yes,
I do.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, what is your least favorite word?
Moist.
Wait.
Word.
You didn't even hesitate. He doesn't hesitate.
I have two: moist and supple.
Supple. What's wrong with supple?
I just hate it. I hate it
we
all.
keep saying it.
Supple. What's supple? What's supple, Lisa? Okay, wait. Who says moist and who says within like 1.3 seconds?
Well, if she hates that word, that's why.
But where would I hate for moist? Because I think of moist, I think like cupcakes.
I
think
don't
of
know.
cake.
People just say it. They know it ticks me off, and I'm like, stop. So no.
Really?
Good to know.
Yeah, good to.
What's the next question?
Sorry.
You've been listening to She Said, He Said with Karen and Jerry Davich, sponsored by Times Media Company and Lee Enterprises, and recorded at Creative Space in downtown Hobart. Find us at nwi.com and where you find all your podcasts.
If you enjoy our show, we hope you return with your own viewpoints about couples, relationships, and the subtle or not so subtle differences between spouses, mates, partners, and potential partners. We welcome your opinions, your experiences, and especially your love lessons.